Well, let me know how Dad is.
Yeah, this is council.
Probably
left-handed. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the RTA, to the City Council meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order and welcome Pastor Rob Bailey from Southside Community Church to lead us in our invocation.
Thanks. Let us pray. Our Father, we thank you for another beautiful day in this city that bears your name. We thank you for our law enforcement officers and first responders and pray for them today as they keep us safe. We also thank you for our mayor, for our city council members and city staff who give so much of their time and energy to serve Corpus Christi. Bless them today as they listen, as they deliberate, and as they decide on important issues facing our community. We pray all this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. And our Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag and to the Texas state flag will be led by Celeste Garza. She is a senior at Moody High School. She is a member of the Citgo Innovation Academy, a dual credit student, and in the orchestra.
All right, go Trojans.
That's right.
Yeah.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in honoring the Texas flag. Honor to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, Celeste. Ms. Huerta, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Council members Roland Barrera.
Here.
Sylvia Campos. Gil Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter.
Here.
Jim Klein.
Here.
Mike Pesley. Everett Roy.
Present.
Dan Suckley.
Here.
City Manager Peter Zanoni.
Present.
City Attorney Miles Risley.
Here.
Mayor and Council, a quorum of the Council and the required charter officers are present to conduct the meeting.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Huerta. And Ms. Box, would you please read the safety briefing?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. In the event of emergency, we will exit the boardroom to my right, the council's left, proceed towards the west stairwell down to the first floor, where you will exit through the west side doors. Once outside, you will continue toward the clock tower adjacent to the transfer station. Secretary Huerta will account for all the council members, and I'll be the last one out to ensure everyone gets out safely. During an emergency, please do not use the elevators. Only return once the all clear has been given, and if we need to shelter in place, we will do so in the west side stairwell. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Box. That will take us to Section F, our city manager's comments and update on city operations. Mr. Zanoni.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. And good morning, Mayor and members of the council.
Good morning.
We do have two items on the city manager report today, and we're going to begin with an important one, which is our financial report for the first quarter of this fiscal year. And there is a presentation here that will follow through. So the first quarter report is from the period of October 1, 2023 through December 31, 2023, the first 3 months. The figures I'm going to show you today and that are in the actual report are unaudited. And then financial policies, as well as the city charter, require that the city manager provide quarterly updates to the city council as a matter of business. So that's what we're doing today. So let's look at our biggest fund. Most services to the community are provided out of it, and that includes our general fund. We're going to look at the revenues first. And so this table here shows us the budget that was adopted by City Council, and then we have the first quarter budget. This is the estimate that the staff puts together on how much revenues we'd collect for those first 3 months based on trends and known factors. And then we compare that to the actual column, that first quarter actuals, and then the variance is shown. And so what we see if we look at the bottom far right corner is 6.5 million variance, which is good. That means we've collected a little bit more than what we thought we would collect. When you look at the various lines of property taxes came in pretty much right at budget. Our sales tax came in a little bit over budget, so that's a good sign of the economy and good budgeting. When you look at the franchise and other fees, it has a 5.1 favorable variance, and that is explained in that that is from our IDAs, our industrial development agreements, and we have to send bills based on the appraised value, and some of the IDA holders, just like a single-family resident, has the right to protest their values. And so in some cases that is being done, and so they're paying that higher amount. However, we do expect about $4.3 million in refunds that we'll give, so that will change by the time we get to the second quarter. If we go to the next slide, this shows our expenses for the first quarter. So our annual budget of $367 million includes carryover commitments of $14 million. That's where work wasn't performed or things weren't paid in the prior fiscal year, so we carry those forward. That takes our budget to that $367.5 million. When we look at the first quarter, this rolls up all the departments and other spending, and it's based on, it's not just a divide by 12 and times by 3, but rather trends and known spending patterns. So for the first quarter, we expected to spend about $87 million, and the actuals are coming in just under $74 million, which is a variance of 13.3. So that's not bad. That's better than prior years where we had about a 20% variance. So what we say often is that we budget these funds and we want to put them into production. We need to provide those services and goods to the community. So having a favorable variance is okay, but if you have too much of a variance, that means we're not doing what we said we would do. So this is improving compared to the last couple of years in terms of first quarter production. And speaking of that, on the next slide, this shows that in the budget, the City Council, in addition to the base budget, what we normally deliver, there was $32 million in budget initiatives, 91 different initiatives that were new. And we track those as well, just like the spending and the revenues. And so 81 of the 91 initiatives are on schedule. There's a scheduled plan of execution for each one of those 91 initiatives. There are 10 that are slightly behind schedule, and so we're looking closely at those and making sure the departments have a recovery plan. Some of them are out of our control, to include long lead times for fire pumpers, and in the budget we had a small brush utility vehicle for the fire department as well. The lead times on those are a little bit longer than what we thought. Just as a reminder, the City Council did a great job in adding a lot of value to the community in the budget, to include 9 additional police officer positions, 9 additional firefighter positions, more medic units, 10 animal care services positions, and a few others you can see there. Okay, so that was the general fund. So good news on the revenues and decent news on the spending. We're going to go over just a few other funds that are important to the kind of the barometer of the city. And on our next slide, our hotel occupancy tax revenue is important to the visitor industry and to many of our assets. And so the first quarter budget is about $4 million. We have an annual budget and revenue of $21.5 million. And we've tracked this pretty closely, especially with the help of Visit Corpus Christi with Brett Otting, the CEO there. And so our actuals came in just a little under budget, about $200,000 under budget, which is not alarming. In a recent executive committee meeting with Brett, he told the executive committee that things are looking decent for this year, actually better, I shouldn't say decent, better than even last year, where bookings for spring break in the summer are already up compared to last year at the same time, meaning people are making reservations more than what they did last year. So we expect the slight negative variance here to be adjusted as we progress through the spring break and summer time frame. Okay, let's turn next to our big utility funds, so water, and then I'll go over wastewater next. So water revenues and expenses are shown here. The annual budget for the water, for CCW water, is just under $158 million. First quarter revenues, we expected to bring in about $37 million for the first 3 months. And we actually brought in just under that at $36.1 million, so about $1 million difference. That's explained from less water use because of our drought restrictions. And so the less water that customers get a chance to use, obviously, the less revenue we bring in. So we'll monitor that closely. It's not a significant variance. On the expenses side, the first quarter budget, we expected to spend about $37 million, and we're spending about 70% of that at $26 million, so $11 million variance. That's a little concerning, so we're working with Drew, our new COO, to make sure that we have positions filled and we're doing what we told the customers we would do. On the next slide is a companion fund, our wastewater fund, and things look better here. So the revenues, as you can see, came in pretty much where we thought they would, at around $21 million. We had a first quarter budget of 20.9. They came in at 21.4, so a $500,000 variance on the wastewater. And on the expenses, our spending trends are better here. So the first quarter budget of $22.3 million, we spent actually 17, and so about a $5 million variance. And again, some of that's explained by vacancies, and so we're monitoring it closely as well. Okay, so those are the major funds. We did want to touch on our capital improvement program. We know, Councilman Hernandez and a lot of us know, this is an important part of our business, and we've made tremendous improvement on having procedural processes in place and tracking and monitoring and developing that budget that the council approves annually. So on here, we're just going to focus on the two most recent bond programs because this is where we did a lot of business changes to make sure projects started immediately and finished on time, and to the extent possible on budget. So the 2022 bond program, which is the most recent, had 32 projects. All projects are either under design or in construction. And so 2 of the projects are under construction already. That includes the Bill Witt swimming pool. And then 29 projects are under design, and 1 project is in pre-design. So work being done on every one of the 32 projects that the voters approved back in November. And then bond 2020, the one prior to that one, had 42 projects. And this is where we put a lot of new business processes in place, and you can see the results of it, which is that 37 projects are either completed or under construction. And the completed number of that 37 is 23. So 23 projects are completed and 14 are under construction. 3 projects will be in construction by June. And then 2 projects were design only, and they're currently in that stage of being designed. So again, the 2020 has a pretty good success story. So in summary, for the first quarter, our general fund revenues are consistent with projections. Our HUT revenues are pretty consistent with projections. Wastewater revenues also are on track. And then we continue that record-setting delivery of our CIP projects. So the next step for our financial management is more than what we did in this first quarter with the City Council. So I want to highlight these here for you. We are working on right now with our external auditor, the city's comprehensive financial report. That's something we do every year to actually look with an outside auditor at our financial records and our financial policies and accountability with our funds. That will be finalized in April, and it'll first go to the audit committee, and then it'll come here to the City Council in a briefing way. We're also working to have a goal-setting session like we did last year with the City Council for the budget, and so that will be in April. That's where we'll set with the City Council goal-setting policies and goals for the budget, so that as we begin to develop the budget in the April, May, June timeframe and July, we'll have Council's direction on your policy priorities. And then we'll be back again to do another quarterly report, and this time it will be the second quarter report, and that'll be in May. So in closing, after this presentation today, we'll email to City Council as we normally do, or hand deliver the financial report. So this slide presentation I showed is a condensed version of what's a pretty detailed report listing out all the departments, all the revenue sources, There's a page, Councilman Pusley, 2 pages actually, on fund balances. That's always in our report. And so you can see the beginning balance we assumed on October 1, revenues, expenses, and what we think it'll be. And so that's in here as well. It always has been. There's been some confusion from the community that it wasn't included, but it's here. It's page 21 and 22. And then so this will be available. This city has done a great job, even before I got here, at having this online. And so this goes online as well. It goes to the city council, but then it's on our website. And the city's had a long-standing financial practice of doing that, which is commendable. So, Mayor, that concludes this presentation. I'm here for any questions, and some of the team members may be as well.
Councilman Klein?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Peter, for this presentation. I just want to return to the water fund page again. I think you mentioned, I forgot the exact number, 11.1 million thereabouts regarding the expenses that came under what was budgeted. And you said that you're going to meet with Drew, I guess, to kind of discuss this, I guess, maybe personnel matters and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so we'll put Drew's, some of the things we're doing to include reorganizing the department when it comes to financial management. So budget development and financial analysis, we need more rigor in it. And so all the vacancies we had are filled, and now we're assembling the team. We moved positions around, reclassified some positions, and bringing in some additional help to have a better focus on this. And so that's the answer.
So that's good. So then the next quarter report, the second quarter report, we should expect to see a significant reduction in that 11.1 million.
Yeah, that is the goal. I put the executive leadership team, which is the deputy city manager, assistants, and CFO, in our weekly meeting this week, Monday. I kind of put them all on notice to say we have to monitor. We, through them and the department heads, need to closely monitor their spending and their revenues, because it's a big check on performance.
Right.
And to include that in our annual performance plans, I'm going to now add for the first time budget delivery. So that means spending what we were supposed to spend, and hopefully bringing in those revenues that we're supposed to bring in. So the whole team is going to take a closer look at the budget and the finances, because every one of them runs basically a business, and this is a key component, being a strong financial stewards of their businesses. Mm-hmm.
All right, good. I look forward to that in a few months. I'm just a little concerned if those numbers can consistently remain that high.
Right.
That becomes kind of a concern to me.
And me as well. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Campos, and then Councilman Hernandez.
Peter, on the 4.3 million that we're going to be short because of the, I guess, challenges of the Nueces appraisal.
Right.
Do we know who those companies are?
I think it's some of the bigger ones. I don't have them necessarily here with me, but some of the larger entities.
But how many companies are on that IDA?
There's over 80. There's over 80. There's 7 larger ones. Some of the refineries.
So out of the 80, we have like about how many? 4 these that compromise that 4.3 million.
There's a couple. There's probably 3 or 4 that are still in the final processes of the contesting of values, which they have the right to do. Just to point out.
And I've asked this before, and I just, if you could please confirm. We're in discussion with the regarding the IDAs, the industrial district agreements. Because we budget, right? We think we're going to get a certain amount of money, and we plan for it. But, I'm asking, would it be possible for us to stipulate that if we're going to go into an agreement that they can't challenge those? I mean, could we actually put that question, that policy is that possible?
Yeah, I don't think, Miles might have to confirm this, but no, I think the answer is no, because it's a state right that the state grants entities through the appraisal districts to review or contest their values. So we can't supersede state law in these things.
But then on the other hand, go ahead. But on the other hand, a regular customer, a regular person can't negotiate, their tax rate. So it's like it's a double standard. Like, you can't be a corporation one day and then a regular person on the other. So that's why I've always wondered about that.
Right.
Actually, it would be unlikely that that type of clause would be acceptable in the first place, even if it was enforceable. They would probably argue that it would not be enforceable. However, it's a matter of negotiation between the entities and the city, and so that would be the first and primary issue. But to the extent that the analogy between them and the individuals breaks down is the matter that they're outside the city limits, and most individuals outside the city limits don't face that type of question.
Right, but also, being outside the city limits, when we're in negotiations, we can at least demand or request that we, put that into consideration, because again, our budget, requires that, we have a certain amount of money. I mean, that's why we have the IDAs, because we expect a certain amount, but if we have the agreement and then they turn around and challenge their appraisals, and here we go again, short. So that's I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We're still negotiating, so our negotiating team's listening to that. But just to point out, and so there's clarity with the listening public, we're not short any money. And so the issue is, we budgeted what we thought we would get based on values. The values came in higher, so we have to send that higher value bill out. Because of the invoice is sent, so we booked the receivable, so to speak. So we got more money than what we budgeted, and we anticipate having to refund some of it. But we're not going to have a budget deficit, or it won't impact our revenues. The issue is, we build at a higher amount, and we know we'll turn some of that funds back.
Because the explanation just says favorable variance includes billed amounts for IDAs prior to changes resulting from protested values, potentials refund. Okay, so maybe I misread that.
Yeah, no problem. That's why I want to point it out. You can see the variance is $5.1 million.
Yeah, I do.
Right, so we'll turn back 4.3 of that, so we'll still be good, almost $1 million.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying it.
Councilman Hernandez.
Yeah, Peter, probably in the future report under general fund revenue, you might want to break out the IDA funding, since it is somewhat separate than.
Okay.
I mean, it is under property tax, but it's a pilot. I mean, it's not.
That's a
little
good
bit
idea
different.
for
You
the
might
next
want to break
report.
it out just so you can have some reference to that.
Okay, no problem.
The other question I have here, and it's been my concern here recently, is the amount of debt we're carrying. I know in the financial report, it generally talks about the debt funds for the specific ones, not the overall debt, and as a percentage versus our revenues for each of the departments. Is there some way we can add that information to our quarterly report, or is there a standard format that needs to be held to?
Yeah, we can add it to our quarterly report. And I can present it in our next quarter as well. It's all information that's available. We have it, and then just I think it's in March. Our financial advisor will be here twice to talk about the debt, specifically the amount of debt and percentages and comparative analysis to other Texas cities.
Right, and if we can, in your presentation, if you can simplify it in the sense that, for example, like our water department has various different funds associated with it, like the raw water, the operations. You have the choke canyon. You have various different things. If you could just kind of combine it so we understand that it's underneath the water department and not it's not muddy the waters. Not to make a pun or anything like that,
no problem.
Just so we can have visibility to the amount of debt we're carrying and as a percentage of the budget of that particular department.
Yes, sir. Good suggestion. And Councilman, on the in the actual financial report that you'll get here momentarily, on page 6, the in lieu of, the industrial development districts is broken out.
No, I know it's in the report.
Okay.
I mean, just in your presentation.
Okay, good. We'll break it out the next time in the presentation. Right. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Pusley.
Yeah. With respect to our capital projects, Peter,
yes, sir.
It'd be really helpful if and I don't want to create extra work for you, but to give council members sort of maybe a monthly update as to when capital projects are going to begin, maybe where the progress is at. And I know I had some calls over the weekend about the Flower Bluff Drive extension is going to start up, and that was part of the 2020 bond package. I wasn't here when that was done, but some questions about that.
Okay, yeah, I think it was in bond 2022,
Yeah.
Councilman, but no problem. It's going to be, what we have ready right now is about 10 to 12 pages, I think, and there's many more projects than that, but let's start with that. I use it every week with the
I'm
executive
not
team.
talking about I'm talking about some of our major projects.
That's what I'm talking about. It's
I
still
had
14.
asked several months ago if we could actually try to plan a little visit to some of our major projects.
Right.
And we haven't been able to put that together, but
Right.
at some point it's helpful to know so that when you have questions about that, you have the ability to answer, okay, well, we're fixing to get started or we're 50% done.
Right, no problem. So that 14-pager, again, just so you'll get it this week, but that's not all the projects, but it's the most important one. It's the major ones.
Okay.
We showed it at the city manager report a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Just some of them off that list, but we'll get you that, no problem.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
sir. Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. Well, Peter, I think what we'll do is we're going to go to public comment. It's noon, and then we'll come back to the.
Great.
I think you have two more items. So at this time, Mr. Risley, if you'd please review the council meeting rules of decorum.
Citizens are authorized and encouraged to present their views to the council on city-related matters. However, such should be done in a factual, precise presentation, and questions of council or staff are inappropriate. Loud, boisterous, profane, or obscene language or behavior is not allowed.
Thank you, Mr. Risley. So individuals will be called upon in order in which they signed up electronically. In-person public comments will be taken first, followed by virtual public comments. Corpus Christi residents will take precedence over non-residents, and for those commenting in person, I always like to remind everyone that a recording is being made of the meeting. Please speak into the microphone located at the podium. A little timer will be over here in front of our city secretary's dais area. There it is. And it'll let you know exactly how much time you have left to speak. There are two opportunities in which you can speak. Currently, this is the first one during public comment. The other would be at the time that we actually hear the item, so please choose one. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes, and non-resident comments are limited to 1 minute. For those commenting in person, as I just mentioned, you'll see the timer here on the dais. If you'll please wrap up as soon as you hear the buzzer, just to respect everyone else's time, we would appreciate that. If you have anything for us that you would like to hand out to us, if you'll please give that to Ms. Huerta prior to speaking, she'll hand it out to us, and then you can begin your comments. So with that, we'll go ahead and start with Kimberly Ballinger.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. Thank you for an opportunity to address you today. My name is Kimberly Ballinger, and I live at 8205 Radio Court, and I am a proud lifelong resident seeking the honor to serve on the Ethics Commission. With a graduate degree in public administration and years of public sector experience, I bring a commitment to transparency and responsible governance. As a result of being raised by my hero, I understand the importance of upholding the highest standards in public service. My professional background has equipped me to make fair and informed decisions, and my extensive volunteer work has provided valuable insights into our community's diverse needs. If chosen, I am dedicated to promoting open communication and maintaining public trust in our local government's ethical standards. I appreciate your consideration and look forward to the opportunity to contribute to the strength of our city. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Ballinger. Ron Graben.
Good morning, everyone. Ron Graven, 202 Surfside Boulevard. I've been asked to represent the voices of 74 people that have signed a petition. I believe 16 of them are here today, and asking the council and the city to re-examine a project that's going on North Beach. And some of you are aware of it, some of you are not. But as you know, North Beach, parts of it are in a VE zone, and the VE zone has lots of rules and regulations. And so I know you all have the petition. I think you all are well able to read it, so I'm not going to do that, take the time. But I think the concern is this, that the cost of repairs doesn't seem to be consistent with the appraised cost of repairs that were initially submitted. So we ask that you please take a look at that, re-examine those costs. And the neighborhood is very concerned about several aspects of it, including parking and the fact that it's being rebuilt at the ground level, which everything now in the new codes require things to be elevated. And there's lots of issues with this that we can go into detail with. If you would like to have a private meeting, we'd be happy to do that. But on behalf of the people standing behind me and those that were not able to make it, we ask for you to seriously re-examine this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Graven. Carrie Meyer.
Good afternoon, City Council. Carrie Meyer, 4401 Gulf Breeze Boulevard. I hope each of you have this packet that we prepared for you. I just wanted to go over it and guide you through just understanding it, and when you do have time to really take a deeper look into it, just as an overview. Exhibit A is the petition that Ron was talking about, 74 signatures and 41 comments. Exhibit B is, and that is asking you to take another look at this application that we think is, the costs are all wrong. The next one is Exhibit B, which are just some pictures showing the area and the buildings that we're talking about. Exhibit C is a compilation of FEMA rules and regulations that are required for construction in a V zone, as well as some city documents in there as well. Basically, it just says that the total cost of the project, if it equals or exceeds 50% before the start of construction, it must be brought up to code, and that means elevating it on pilings. That's what we're asking for. Then Exhibit D, this is Al Raymond delivered this to you on January 8th. If you note where it's highlighted, City of Corpus Christi asked for and received a certified home appraisal. We did a request for public information and got that appraisal. It's a 100-page document professionally done by a group out of Florida. And in the document, if you turn to the last page, it says the prospective buyer plans to renovate and rehab the property for a total cost of $98,700, hard costs only, which appears reasonable. Then at the bottom of that page, it says $86,000. That's the $86,000 is what the property's buildings are worth. The $98,700, that is the costs. So as you can see, this appraiser, who's a professional, 20 years of experience, said that it will be over 100% of the value of the property. But what instead the city is relying on, Exhibit F, is from someone from Alice, Texas, who does not have an email address provided. His phone is not accepting calls. And the only thing we can get is a Google map of where his office is. He's not a licensed contractor with the state of Texas. He is registered with the city as a contractor, but so am I. I just registered as a contractor. It takes a driver's license and fill out a form. So no skill. So this person who filled out this handwritten form and said it comes under 47% instead of, has to be, if it's over 50, you got to do everything right. So this guy says 47%, we're in there, we're golden, and so they're allowing them to rebuild completely this broken down building in a flood zone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Barbara Welder.
Hello, I'm Barbara Welder. I live on North Beach, 202 Reef, and I'm former president of NBCA and a board member for 10 years. Thank you, Mayor and Mr. Zanoni and staff for this time. I'm here to raise some other factors that Carrie brought up as far as this petition. I'm in favor of the petition. It strongly affects the neighborhood. It strongly affects the people that live out there that are fighting so hard to make North Beach rise again. When I was young, I used to come to North Beach and walk around barefooted. And I noted that because there were no paved streets at that time, the 40s, 50s, 60s, and I noticed that all the buildings that were for the public to use were on the ground level, just par with the dirt in front. One or two hotels, the Breakers, to name a few. And I've shared that story with several of you that have visited North Beach in the younger days. So most of these older buildings are gone with the wind, with hurricanes, deterioration, father time, rain, etc., or simple neglect. We did a little study from 2017 to 2024 of how many disasters have we had that affected North Beach. We found 7 of them. I don't have time to read them all, but you do remember Hurricane Hannah in 2020. You remember the Arctic, what they call the Arctic outbreak in 2021 in a horrible snowstorm, if you can believe it, 2017. And of course we've got Hurricane Harvey, which managed to dump 51 inches of rain and cost 100 lives and $155 billion. So those were 7, so on an average of, let's say, 1 a year, this is what we're looking at as far as disasters. Luckily, FEMA has come along in 1979 to help citizens with disaster relief, stabilize communities, and to make structures more resilient. I like that word, resilient. It means tough and strong, kind of like North Beach. These FEMA regulations declared that buildings must be made modern, elevated, key word, elevated, and safe. Today, I live in a brick condo, a small one with some of these people here, and it's elevated above the floodplain. All around us, we have colored little cottages, which also are up above the FEMA regulation. These buildings have exhibited resilience to many storms. Could I have a little more time? 1 minute, please? To finish.
Yeah, you can finish your statement there.
We are recommending that the city work with FEMA in the future. This kind of construction is passed. We would like for the city to ensure all property owners who purchase these older structures to be held to the strictest standards to protect lives, neighboring properties, potential tenants, wildlife, and environment. And in closing, I may mention the 7 disasters. Would this property in question be able to withstand any of those? I ask you that to consider while you're making your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Welder. John Weber.
John Weber, 609 Naples Street. I thank the members of the council that asked good questions during the desal discussions last month. Councilmember Hernandez suggested that Tampa Bay didn't have a barrier island. Jason Coughlin from Friesen Nichols responded by saying they do have a barrier island. It is a little different than the one we have here. Evidence shows it is entirely different. Next slide. Councilman Hernandez asked if Tampa Bay was as shallow as Corpus Christi Bay. Jason said, I don't know. Next slide. Corpus Christi Bay has an average depth of 9.8 feet and a surface area of 192 square miles. The exchange with the Gulf of Mexico occurs at Aransas Pass. As a result, the seawater exchange, the bay's salinity is 22 parts per thousand, which is lower than the seawater average of 35 parts per thousand. Corpus Christi Bay is designated as an estuary of national significance, home to more than 234 species of fish. Next slide. Tampa Bay has an average depth of 12 feet and a surface area of 400 square miles. It has a wide mouth connecting it to the Gulf of Mexico. The freshwater sources of the bay are distributed among over 100 small tributaries rather than a single river. Next slide. The Tampa Bay desal plant produces 25 million gallons a day. Next slide. The twice as salty discharge is blended with up to 1.4 billion gallons of cooling water, achieving a blending ratio of up to 70:1. Next slide. Everyone is familiar with this map of the proposed desal plant and the opening to the Gulf. Next slide. This map is the same scale as the last one. Notice the wide mouth and lack of barrier islands. Tampa Bay gets 50% more rainfall than we do. The volume of Tampa Bay is more than twice as much as our bay. The proposed desal plant is larger than the Tampa Bay plant. The two largest seawater desalination plants are located next to power plants, so they will have a huge source of water to blend with the discharge. Please ask Friesen Nichols what will be the water source used to blend with the wastewater, and what will the blending ratio be. The smaller Tampa Bay plant blends with up to 1.4 billion gallons a day. As always, have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Rachel Caballero.
Rachel Caballero, 522 Hancock. Another week, another problem, having to come here and address you people. I'm here again to say I am against desalination in our Corpus Christi bays. I'm against all desalination in our Corpus Christi bays. I'm also against the ammonia plant that's going in Robstown and Calallen. Up here. That ammonia plant is going to be needing 9 million gallons per day of water. This coming from an area where our politicos have been telling us we're running out of water. We don't have any water. The power grid is being strained. But we have enough water for an ammonia plant in Calallen and Annaville, where some of you are very concerned about the location, and some of you didn't know that it was happening. So one, you're not doing your job and getting informed about detrimental impacts that could be happening to our community, or two, you're flat out lying, which I'm being a part of this for the last 3.5 years. I'm going to go with the latter. We know what's going on behind this dais, and we're not telling the community. Those 9 million gallons per day, that's not all that you're going to need. You're also going to need water, cooling water. So who's lying is what I would like to know. We don't want that ammonia plant in Robstown or Calallen or in District 1 or in Precinct 1. I'm not sure. It is very apparent. It is very apparent that at minimally 6 of you are not on our side. The crazy thing is that some of you think that you're better or more important than some of us, community members, sitting out here. I'm here to inform you, you are not. You are all the same as we are. We are all equal in this room, all of us, no matter your elected position, because that can be snatched at any moment. We are making it a point to replace all self-serving narcissists on this dais come November. I advise you all to start making decisions in favor of the community. You have community members that are coming in here and schooling city staffers, schooling the city manager, schooling the city attorney on how to do their jobs because they're not doing their jobs. And no one on this dais is holding city staff or the city manager accountable. Why? Do the jobs you are elected for. Protect this community. That is your job.
Peter Meyer.